What's going on, guys? It's Frito here for your Overwatch. A new Overwatch 2 beta patch just went live, adding in some new abilities to a couple support characters. The first one is Moira, who no longer has a damage orb, now instead will throw a small projectile called Enfeeble. And when this hits, it does a bit of damage and applies a weaken status effect. I had to take the original video down because this patch note was so outrageous. It's minus 75% damage. This debuff is so strong, I'm gonna say it's the best support utility in the game because 25% is so minuscule that yes, while they'll still be able to use their abilities, they're doing so little damage in a shooter game that you can pretty much ignore that character. While Sleep Dart might be a bit stronger in some ways, because it incapacitates that target, characters that need to do damage to get any value can just be ignored, while Enfeeble applies a weakening effect onto them. Now, there's a few properties to this. It's a smaller projectile, as we can see, and it will move straight, so it's actually a skill shot. It explodes in a 3-meter radius and either can direct hit onto an enemy target or onto, let's say, the floor or the wall here, and will splash into them. So if you just want to apply the status effect, then applying it near an enemy will be fine. But if you do hit it onto an enemy, and you can see it kind of has a pretty long cooldown between usages here, but it will do 40 impact damage and 10 explosion damage. And keep in mind now, she'll also be able to duel the target with Grasp. And another aspect of this that you should keep in mind is that the orb is split into 2 abilities. So that means you can do this. Enfeeble orb on the ground, self-heal orb towards you, which would follow me if I was injured, and then duel. So this makes Moira a dueling beast, where there's certain targets that want to jump in on her. If they get hit by Weaken or the Enfeeble orb, they're kind of going to get rolled. So there's a few characters that I want you to keep a lookout. Is a character like Roadhog, for example, normally a support to interrupt his hook follow-up is that you'd have to like sleep him or maybe throw a lamp to save them, but now you could throw this right into him and he won't probably be able to one-shot a lot of the characters he's used to one-shotting. So Junker Queen running in, hitting Weaken on her for multiple seconds means like she just won't be as threatening in your backline. So Moira, very survivable in her own right, but will have a added dueling capability as well as teammate save ability. And I think there's also cool things you can consider doing when you can go aggressive with this and maybe hit the orb even midair on flying characters and set up an incredibly aggressive duels. So Moira is going to feel a bit like Reaper in that way, where she can kind of just pounce on you and be able to duel you because of the tools she has at her disposal, especially comboing in her own self-heal. In the patch notes, the developers explain that Moira's strengths lie in her extreme survivability, high healing throughput, and consistent damage output. But other supports have at least one utility option or playmaking ability. To remedy this, Biotic Orb has been split into 2 abilities on separate cooldowns, Biotic Orb and Necrotic Orb. Due to Necrotic Orb's potential to shut down many ultimates and heavily swing duels in her favor, Moira has also received some compensation nerfs to her overall power. A few takeaways here: 16 seconds is a massive cooldown for any ability, so keep in mind that she's going to have a lot of downtime before she makes that big play, but as the devs say, it's going to be effective in duels, but also making ultimates a lot worse. Weaken reducing damage by 75% means a Genji Blade, which normally swings to do 120 damage, will only do 30. The amount of a normal melee. Well, for a while in Overwatch 2, channeling abilities were incredibly powerful. But since now you could put Enfeeble on something for its duration, you don't even have to hit a Sleep Dart to disable it. Enfeeble looks a lot easier to hit. All of a sudden, things like Tac-Visor or a nano-boosted target are much less threatening. Enfeeble isn't just insane, it's like game-changing. The other key nerfs is that the overall healing of Biotic Orb maxes out at 250, and that's channeled over the duration of the entire orb, and its cooldown was increased as well to 10 seconds. But I think with the big burst and just having multiple abilities stacked on top of each other, being able to do that is just so much better than it was before. I think this is a massive buff to Moira. Self-heal 20 and fade cooldown 7. Small nerfs in those areas. I think she's going to need much more nerfs to be actually balanced. What the devs wanted to do is give Moira her own big play, and I think that's exactly what they were able to do now that she has such a massive combo like that, where she can launch her self-heal orb, enfeeble, fade into that combo, and coalescence as well. Moira has a lot of tools to make big plays now. Okay, guys, the brand new Guardian Angel gives you a meter that will launch you farther once you cancel the ability with jump. So as I start to Guardian Angel to a teammate, I can look in a direction and then just press jump to cancel it, and I'll launch in that direction. You also can hit backwards on movement in order to fling yourself backwards as well. And what the devs wanted to do here is give Mercy a lot more agency on how she controls this movement, and giving all the sort of micro adjustments that you're used to from the original version of Super Jump, but now in a much more easy, streamlined way. So finally, I think they're landing on something that most people should like, I think. I can't see what you would complain about with this, but we'll have to see how it breaks. Maybe there's techniques I don't know about yet that you can exploit with this. But overall, I think the nice thing about this is you don't have to super jump with the glide tech, I guess. You just sort of naturally can go wherever you want. This reminds me a lot of, let's say, like jumping vertically with Winston or something. If I want to go up in the air, I just look there and hit jump, and it feels very natural to me, and I think is very good for the character overall, giving you a lot of agency with where you move, as well as keeping the power high and a skill gap as well. Whereas the previous beta version just sort of vaguely sent you in the same spot every single time without any ability to change it, which just sucked in a lot of ways. So it's good that they're changing this. Now for Mercy, the devs say the previous iteration of Guardian Angel led to less control for the player overall, often launching Mercy into danger or out of resurrect range. So you would accidentally cancel res because of the fixed motion of the auto super jump that they tried in beta 2. The devs go on and saying this version keeps player intent at the forefront while still allowing for vertical mobility without sacrificing control input simplicity. There was a few bug fixes in the patch as well, but also a major balancing change that I think just affects tanks. They have it as a general change, but because it's only about armor, and well, tanks are the only characters that have armor anymore in Overwatch 2, now that things like Brigitte Rally or Torbjorn's Overload, things like that, only go to green overshield health. They aren't armor anymore. So tanks are going to be hit quite significantly by this nerf, and I'll explain why in a sec. The final hit that would deplete a hero's armor pool is now dynamically reduced. For example, previously, if a hero had 1 armor remaining and took 100 incoming damage, that would instead be reduced to 70 damage due to armor, because the way armor works in Overwatch 2 is it always reduces 30% damage. However, now, in the same scenario, that hero will take 99 damage, which is to say, the damage reduction of armor is only applied while you have armor. So it doesn't like grandfather into the rest of your health, and that matters a lot, because in this scenario, what we're saying is that if you're getting into normal health, then you're going to end up taking a bigger percentage of that damage than you were before. And the reason why that matters so much is that tanks often are playing with how much armor health they have, and the more on the edge that they can play, the further forward they can be and the more aggressive overall. So think of it like this. It isn't only taking more damage, it is that, but it also will mean it will take longer for you to heal up into the armor health, which matters a lot in Overwatch 2 because there's a lot of scenarios where team fights get whittled down into, let's say, like a 2v2 to clutch the point, and you're just, as Reinhardt, a little bit underneath that armor health, and you're just begging Lucio to heal a little bit more to get you into that armor health so you can feel comfortable like running something over without dying. Well, if you don't get up into that armor health, then you're not going to be getting the benefits of the 30% damage reduction. Other characters that will see a massive buff in their matchup against these armor tanks are characters like Widowmaker, who up against the character that they just buffed, D.Va, has a lot of armor health, and well, whittling through it feels impossible. Now, think of it this way. A headshot from a Widowmaker onto a D.Va mech, if she had 1 bit of armor, would get reduced by 30%. whereas now, if she's getting into that normal health, it will do almost entirely full damage. That's a big difference when a Widow headshot does 300 damage, okay? Taking 30% of that, or just taking 1 damage off, is a big difference on a tank's health pool. Ranged characters will have a much better pressure advantage up against armored tanks now in the beta. Guys, that's everything for today's patch breakdown. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you did enjoy the video, please hit it with a like, and don't forget to subscribe and click the bell icon to actually get notified when our videos come out. I've been Frito for Yo Overwatch. I'll see you guys next time.